All right, so you did it. You actually hit that huge financial milestone, $20,000 saved up. That probably took years of discipline, right? But now you've got this serious chunk of cash just sitting there. And the big question is, what happens now? Because honestly, the choices you make in the next few days could literally define your entire financial future.
And I bet I know what you're thinking. You're probably thinking, phew, the hard part is over. I mean, saving the money was the real grind. Now it's time to kind of relax, maybe enjoy it, upgrade a few things in your life. It seems totally logical, doesn't it?
But that way of thinking is a total trap. The crazy reality is that the most dangerous moment is right now. Seriously, the 48 hours right after you hit that savings goal, that's when you are most vulnerable to making a huge mistake that could send you right back to square one. Look, you're standing at a crossroads. There are two paths in front of you. Path 1, we'll call that the dopamine hit. It's the treat yourself path. It starts at 20 grand, and it pretty much always ends with you having like 3 grand left wondering where it all went. Then there's path 2. We'll call this the boring path. It also starts at 20,000, but it ends with a truly life-changing amount of money.
So here's our game plan to make sure you stay firmly on path 2, the good path. We're going to start by unpacking why this moment is so dang dangerous. Then we'll lay out a super simple 4-step plan. We'll talk about how to invest smart, not hard. We'll cover the biggest wealth-killing mistakes to avoid at all costs. And we'll wrap up with the surprising and awesome power of being boring.
Okay, first up, your most dangerous moment. And let me be clear, this isn't about the stock market or complicated spreadsheets. This is all about psychology. Right now, you are literally fighting your own brain.
The second that bank account ticks over to $20,000, this little voice just pops into your head. It starts whispering things like, hey, you worked so hard for this. You've earned an upgrade. It's time to stop living like a student. And that little whisper, that's the sound of your future wealth just evaporating into thin air. It's the siren song that leads you straight back to a $3,000 bank account.
So, how in the world do we fight back against that little voice? We use a plan. A simple, mechanical plan that takes all the emotion out of the equation. This is your roadmap to turn that 20 grand into a real foundation for actual wealth.
And look how simple this is. The plan has just 4 steps. First, we're going to destroy any high-interest debt you have. Then we'll build a solid emergency fund. After that, we max out this incredibly powerful tax-free account called a Roth IRA. And finally, we put everything else on autopilot. That's it. No complexity, just pure effectiveness.
So why debt first? It's just simple math. That credit card debt, it's a guaranteed 22% loss every single year. You are basically volunteering to lose money. Trying to earn a potential 10% in the stock market while you're paying a guaranteed 22% on debt, it's like trying to fill a bucket that has a giant hole in the bottom. You will lose, every time. Paying off that debt is like getting a guaranteed 22% return on your money. You can't beat that anywhere.
Okay, debt is gone. Step 2 is building a buffer, your safety net. Your emergency fund isn't designed to make you rich. It's designed to keep you from becoming poor again when, life happens. A car breaks down, you lose your job. This fund means you don't have to sell your investments at the worst possible time or go right back into debt. It's not dead money, it's peace of mind money.
All right, with your debt gone and your emergency fund locked and loaded, now we finally get to the wealth building part. And here's the big secret. Getting rich isn't about picking the next hot stock or some crypto coin. It's about being incredibly consistent and, well, boring.
There's a great line that says, "This strategy is so boring and so effective that it almost feels like you're cheating." But the truth is, this simple approach works better than 90% of all the complex, exciting strategies you hear about out there.
First stop on our investing journey, the Roth IRA. Why is this such a big deal? Because every single dollar this money earns grows completely tax-free. And then when you pull it all out in retirement, guess what? Also completely tax-free. Get this, a single contribution today could become over $330,000, and you won't pay a single cent of tax on any of that growth. It is the single best deal in all of finance.
So what do you actually buy inside that Roth IRA? Your shopping list is going to be the simplest one you've ever seen. You just buy a broad index fund, something like VTI or VOO. An index fund is just a single purchase that lets you own a tiny little piece of hundreds or even thousands of companies all at once. So instead of betting on one company, you're just betting on the entire US economy. And that's it.
Your only job from here on out is to not mess it up. Don't tinker with it, don't panic sell when the news gets scary, just let it grow.
Now, just as important as knowing what to do is knowing what not to do. It's surprisingly easy to have a great plan and still end up with nothing. So let's talk about the traps that will absolutely incinerate your progress.
The number one mistake by far is trying to time the market, waiting for a crash to buy in or selling everything when things look scary. Just look at this study. Over a 20-year period, if you just missed the 10 best days in the market, you cut your returns in half. And here's the kicker. Those best days almost always happen right after the absolute worst days. Time in the market always beats timing the market. Every single time.
But as dangerous as market timing is, it's not even the biggest threat. Oh no, there's something far more common and way more destructive. It's called lifestyle inflation, and it's the main reason most people who make good money never actually build any real wealth.
Let me show you the real cost. So you feel like you've kind of made it and you get a slightly nicer car. That small $380 monthly payment doesn't feel like a big deal, right? But if you had invested that same money over 30 years, it would become over $860,000. That is the true cost of that little upgrade. It's what economists call the opportunity cost.
So you really have to ask yourself this question. Every time you think about an upgrade, a nicer car, a bigger apartment, whatever, you have to ask, is this really worth trading almost $1 million of my future freedom for? All for a tiny, temporary hit of dopamine today?
And that brings us right to the final, and honestly, the most important idea of all. The secret to all of this isn't about being a genius. It's about embracing the power of being boring. That's your superpower.
Check this out. If you follow the boring plan and just don't touch that initial $20,000, here's what happens. In 30 years, it becomes almost $350,000. You turn 20 grand into a third of $1 million by doing absolutely nothing. That is the incredible magic of compound interest. But wait, that's just the start. That's if you never save another dollar. What happens if you take that boring plan and just add a consistent, automatic $500 contribution every single month? You end up with over $1.5 million. I mean, think about that for a second. You put in about $200,000 of your own money over 3 decades, and the market does all the heavy lifting, adding over $1 million in pure growth. This is the incredible result of just choosing the boring path. It doesn't look like much day to day, but over time, it leads to an absolutely extraordinary outcome.
So what's the ultimate takeaway from all this? It's really this simple. Be boring. Get wealthy. Drive the paid-off car. Buy the same old index fund every single month. Tune out the crypto hype, the hot stock tips, all of it. Your ability to just ignore the noise and stick to a simple, effective plan is the single greatest predictor of your financial success.